You ready to start this thing?
Yeah.
Okay. It's already rolling.
Okay.
So I guess I need to introduce myself.
Probably need to, yeah.
Hi, I'm Cindy Cullen. I'm the lazy programmer, and this is... Who are you?
I'm Elizabeth, the faithful sidekick.
Okay, and today I want to show you how to start your website. First you need to get a domain, and then we'll talk about hosting.
First of all, what is a domain?
A domain name is the name for your website, the address for your website. It's what you type in the address bar up here, such as cindycullen.com. That's the domain name, what I typed up here in the address bar.
It has another name, though.
URL. This is the URL up here. Usually when you talk about a URL, you talk about it with the protocol in front of it, which is HTTP in most cases, at least on the internet.
And what does HTTP mean?
You would Hypertext Transfer Protocol.
So that's nerd speak for the numbers of the address.
The what? The numbers of the address?
What is that nerd speak for?
For hypertext means like where you have links in the page that you can jump to another page.
Mm-hmm.
That's hypertext. Transfer protocol is the way the information is transferred back and forth between servers, or between your website and the server, client and the server. So there's also FTP, which is File Transfer Protocol, which is the little programs we use to upload and download files to a website. Like Coda, that's what we use.
Right.
So that's File Transfer Protocol.
Why does the URL have an S sometimes, and sometimes it doesn't?
The S means secure, and that means there's an SSL, or a secure, what does it stand for? Secure something layer, socket layer, which means that it's encrypted when it transfers the information from you to the server and back. So the S means it's a secure connection. So it'll be encrypted when you send anything. So you always want to make sure that it has the S up there when you put in a credit card number or a social security number or anything that you don't want to be stolen, maybe. Make sense?
It does. Is the S needed on a regular website?
Not unless you're going to be taking credit card numbers or social security numbers. That's usually the only time I require you to have one. If I'm going to be doing your website, I don't want to do one if you've got credit card numbers on there and it's not a secure site or a social security number, because those can be stolen.
That makes sense.
And are often stolen. So you want those to be encrypted before they leave your computer or before they come back. So.
Okay. So how do I get my domain name? Should I go to GoDaddy or someplace like that?
You can. I don't suggest GoDaddy. I don't like GoDaddy because of a lot of different reasons. For domain names, they're okay, but I do not like the way they do their web hosting. It's not very secure, especially for shared hosting. And I'm not crazy about some of their marketing strategies, so I try to stay away from GoDaddy, and I don't recommend it. But if you want really great service,
yes,
you should go to my domain service, which is domains.cindycullen.com. Here you can type in the domain name that you want to see if it's available, and you can choose a different extension if you want, like net, org, info, all those.
So I can get it in more than just .com?
Yeah, you can get it in any of these. Some other domain places will offer more options. I don't know if I offer all of them or not. There's probably more, and you can view more down here. I don't recommend you get any except for maybe these on the first line or so, maybe that one. But typically, I suggest you get .com if you're really concerned about somebody stealing some of your traffic by getting the .net, then you might want to get that one, or .org. If you're a commercial for-profit business, I recommend .com for sure. And sometimes even if you're not, only because most people are going to think it's .com, even if it's not.
Right.
I don't recommend, usually, if it's a business, that you get a .net if the .com's already taken.
Why?
Because people are never going to remember that you're .net instead of .com. And they're going to go to the .com site anyway. So especially if the .com that's already taken is very similar to your business,
Yes.
I wouldn't get it. I would find a different domain name.
Makes sense.
So to check if it's already taken, you just click on go, and it should tell you that all these are taken, or at least most of them, first three, because I already have those. So I got the .com, the .net, and the .org because I didn't want somebody else to get that name and use it for something that I wouldn't like. You know, I wouldn't want a porn star getting my name showing up somewhere.
I don't know. It might be a new income revenue.
No, not for me. So that's why that one's already taken, is because I already have that one. So once you find
So
what's
if
taken, what's
if
not,
I get a domain name, does that mean I own it?
you register it, and you have it for the length of time that you pay for it. So once you've had it, for instance, if I get it for a year, when my year expires, if I don't renew it,
Yes.
then it goes away. And I think there's like a 90-day grace period, so nobody can get it for that 90 days after you let it expire. But after that 90 days, anybody can get it again.
So after 90
So-
days, then anybody can bid on it again or buy it
Right.
or register it.
And so you don't really own it. Nobody owns it. You just rent it, so to speak, or lease it for however many years, and you can buy it up to 10 years at a time.
Oh, wow.
I say buy it. You can lease it, rent it, whatever you want
Mhm.
to call it, for up to 10 years at a time, and it is in your authority. You determine what happens with it for those 10 years or however long you buy it. Pay for it.
So if I get a domain, do I have to use it?
You don't have to. You can, what they call, park it, which means you own it, so to speak, and nobody else can do anything with it as long as you have it under your name,
Mm-hmm.
have it registered, and it's just parked. So it points somewhere, usually to just an ad page or just to a generic page that says this domain is already taken or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But so you don't have to do anything with it. A lot of people buy domains and don't do anything with them because they think somebody else will want it, and so when somebody else does want it, they charge them a whole lot of money to buy it from them. So it's sort of like your virtual real estate. You know, if you think of a really good domain name, you should go ahead and get it anyway because somebody may want it someday. And
Like your name?
I've seen people pay hundreds of thousands of dollars for a good domain name if it was one they really wanted
Really?
for their business. For instance, what if Walmart didn't get the Walmart domain name? Walmart would pay a lot of money for that domain name. Now, obviously, Walmart already has it, but when domain names first came out, Pepsi or Coke or some of those weren't bought by those big companies right away, and so the people that bought them made a lot of money off of those.
Wow.
So the domain business is a big business. You can get them fairly cheap. Look, these are $11.99 a year, which is really cheap. But if you get the right one, I've paid personally hundreds of dollars for domain names, and I've watched other companies pay a lot of money just to get the domain name they wanted. So it's big business.
Okay.
So once you see if the one you want is taken, then you have to come up with a different one, or pick one that's similar and not taken. So you could take it with a different extension on it, or down here it gives you suggestions. So since Cindy Cullen is taken, I could try Cindy-Cullen.
Do you suggest getting a dash?
It depends on what you're going to be using it for. A lot of times for businesses, if it's more than one word in the domain name, I suggest the dash because it's easier to read. So if you're going to put it on a business card or in an ad somewhere, I suggest you get the dash because it's easier to read. But I wouldn't get just the dash because it's harder to say. So I wouldn't want to say on the phone, "Hi, just go to cindy-cullen.com."
Because then they may spell out Cindy DASH.
Right. Right. And it's just harder to say than cindycullen.com. So if I'm telling somebody on the phone, it's easier with this version. And if I'm writing it for somebody to read, it's easier to see with this version. So I didn't in this case because I don't use this a lot in print. But I usually get both if it's for a business where I'm going to have business cards and stationery and all that. So once you find one that you want, all you've got to do is add it to your cart and then go check out. And if you already have an account, you can just sign into it. And if you don't, then you can register for an account. Now, obviously, I'm not going to buy one right now. I'll try to make a video later when I do need to buy one. But that's pretty much all there is to getting your domain name. The .coms right now are $12.49 a year. So you could go ahead and buy that for the whole year, whether you use it right away or not. Or, if you don't want to go through this and don't understand how to do it, you can contact me and I'll buy it for you. But I have to add a little more to cover the credit card fees and my time. So that's the way to get your domain name.
So if I wanted you to get it for me, how much would you charge for that?
I usually charge $15, and that covers my credit card fees that I have to pay on this, and it covers the little bit of time that it takes me. So either way, you would have your domain name. I still put it in your name, even if I get it for you.
Oh, so it's still mine, even though I may pay you to do it for me.
Right. I may put me as the technical contact just because I'm the one that'll need to change it and do some, if you change where it points or where your hosting is. I'll put my name as the technical contact. And sometimes I'll leave it in my name unless the client requests it be in their name just because it's easier.
Right.
Since I'm the one registering it and taking care of it. But I don't have a problem giving it back to the client anytime they want it. Okay, so once you have a domain name, then you're going to need some hosting to go along with that. So hosting is the actual disk space where your website lives, and the domain name points to that hosting. So if you ever get a different website or have a new one created, you can just change where that domain name points to the new place on the server or on the website.
Now, does that mess up my website?
What what mess it up? Changing the domain name?
No, not changing the domain name, but pointing it to something else. Let's say I'm just going to re-register, or I just want to re-buy a domain. But I buy it through you and not through the person I had it through. If I already have a website, is that going to mess up my website?
I'm still not understanding what you're asking me. Are you talking about transferring your domain name?
Now, let's say it's time for me to re-buy it.
The domain name.
The domain name. To renew it.
Mm-hmm.
And I buy it through you versus the last one I bought it through. Is that going to mess anything up?
Well, you can't really do that. Once you've bought it through a registrar, you've got to renew it through that registrar unless you transfer it. Now, you can do a transfer. And a lot of people do a transfer, especially if they're with somewhere like GoDaddy and they get tired of their stuff. So to transfer it, you just go up here to transfer, and you can transfer your domain name. So then you just put in the domain name that you already have at GoDaddy or wherever, and then you can transfer it here. Now, there is one little catch that it doesn't show you here, but you have to have an authorization code from GoDaddy to do the transfer. And you would basically go into your GoDaddy account and find that, or wherever your registrar is. All registrars have a code of some sort for you to, they may call it something different. I think GoDaddy calls it an authorization code. Some places call it a token or something else. But you have to have that code because we have to prove that you really own the domain name. So you have to be able to get into your domain account and find that code to send it to me. So before this process would take place, course, this one's already here, so it may not work. But this shows the one we tried to get a while ago. By the time this actually goes through, you'll have to put in that authorization code somewhere, or it won't go through. But when you transfer one, it's important to know that it takes 5 days to do it. And that's to keep people from stealing it out from under you. Because if somebody found your password to GoDaddy or wherever you're transferring from and got in there and got the authorization code, then they could just steal your domain from you. But since it takes 5 days, you've got 5 days to cancel it.
Okay.
So it sends you an email, or whoever the contact person is, it sends an email to them to let them know that somebody's trying to take it. And if you've done it, then that's okay. You just wait 5 days and let it go. But if it wasn't you, then you want to
contact them and let them know.
Right. And I think if you ever change the contact information, I think it sends an email to your old address and your new address to make sure that you initiated that contact change.
Mm-hmm.
But you also can't transfer a domain name that you just changed the contact information on.
How long do you have to wait before you can?
I'm not sure, and it may be different from one registrar to the next, but it's usually 60 to 90 days. It's a while. So I've had this happen to me even, don't change your contact information because you got a new email address or something, and then go try to transfer it, because it won't let you for the wait period, whatever that is. So I usually transfer it and then change all the contact information.
That makes sense.
Because you don't want to be locked in to stay in some place you don't want to stay. And, they used to sort of tick me off, but I'm sort of glad now because it keeps people from stealing your domain name away from you.
Yes.
Domains can be your business. I mean, it's a big part of your business.
Mm-hmm.
It's important to protect your domain name. Also, most registrars have a locking device, which you can lock the domain name so it can't be changed without going in and unlocking it. And that's just an extra security measure so that you can't lose it easily. So the first step to setting up your own website is to get your domain name. Whether you get it through me or through somebody else, you need to register that. And you have to register for at least a year, but you can register for up to 10. Sometimes if I think of a good name, I'll just go ahead and register it and let it sit. I have a lot of domain names that are just sitting. And some of them I'll keep for years before I finally do something with them. And some of them I finally just let them go because I decide I'm not going to do anything after all. So it's your little piece of the internet real estate.